Imagine waking up one morning and suddenly petrol prices have doubled. Flights are cancelled, factories slow down, and countries start blaming each other. All because of a place you may have never even heard of, a narrow strip of water called the Strait of Hormuz. This is not just a sea route, this is the heartbeat of the global economy. And today, we're going to explore why this tiny waterway holds so much power and why it could become the center of the next global crisis. To understand its importance, we first need to see where it is. The Strait of Hormuz lies between Iran on one side and Oman and the United Arab Emirates on the other. It connects the Persian Gulf to the Arabian Sea. Now here's what makes it shocking. At its narrowest point, this strait is only about 33 kilometers wide. That's smaller than many cities. But despite its small size, it controls one of the most important flows on Earth. Every single day, massive oil tankers pass through this narrow route. Not one or two, but dozens. Together they carry around 20% of the world's oil supply. Think about that for a moment. Out of every 5 barrels of oil used anywhere in the world, one comes through this tiny passage. And it's not just oil. Huge amounts of natural gas, especially from countries like Qatar, also travel through this route. This is why experts call it the most important choke point in the world. But what exactly is a choke point? It's a place where something important passes through, but space is limited. Like a narrow door in a crowded building. If that door closes, everything stops. And in the case of the Strait of Hormuz, if it closes, global trade slows, oil prices shoot up, economies start shaking. Now here's where things get tense, because this strait is not just important, it's also extremely dangerous. Ships cannot move freely here. They must follow very narrow shipping lanes, sometimes only a few kilometers wide. This means one mistake can cause disaster. One conflict can block the entire route. And history shows this is not just a theory. Back in the 1980s, during the Iran-Iraq War, this region became a battlefield. Both sides attacked oil tankers in what became known as the Tanker War. Ships were damaged, trade was disrupted, and the world realized how fragile this route really is. Even today, tensions in this region remain high. The Strait of Hormuz sits in one of the most politically sensitive areas in the world. Conflicts involving Iran, global powers, and neighboring states often bring this strait into the spotlight. At times, military ships patrol the waters, drones fly overhead, and oil tankers move cautiously, knowing that any small incident could turn into a major crisis. Now imagine this scenario. One day, the strait is blocked, maybe due to conflict, or an attack, or even a deliberate decision. What happens next? Within hours, oil supply starts dropping. Within days, fuel prices rise globally. Countries that depend heavily on imported oil, like many in Europe and Asia, start facing shortages. Airlines increase ticket prices. Transport costs go up. Food becomes more expensive. And suddenly, a small waterway in the Middle East starts affecting everyday life across the entire planet. But you might be thinking, why don't ships just take another route? That's the problem. There is no easy alternative. Some pipelines exist, but they cannot handle the massive volume of oil that passes through this strait every day. This makes the world heavily dependent on this single location. And that's what makes the Strait of Hormuz so powerful. It's not big, it's not wide, but it is essential. Now let's zoom in a little more, because this strait is not just about oil and politics, it's also about geography. The surrounding region is dry, hot, and mostly desert. Yet beneath this land lies some of the largest oil reserves in the world. Countries around the Persian Gulf depend on this waterway to export their resources. Without it, their economies would struggle. And because the world depends on their oil, the world would struggle too. This creates a very delicate balance. On one hand, countries need this route to stay open. On the other hand, control over this route gives power, and power often leads to tension. This is why the Strait of Hormuz is often in global news. Even a small incident here can cause oil prices to rise instantly, because markets react to fear. And when it comes to this strait, fear spreads quickly. But here's something even more interesting. Despite all these risks, the strait continues to operate daily. Ships keep moving, trade keeps flowing, and the world keeps depending on it. It's like a ticking clock, always moving, but always under pressure. And that brings us to an important question. What does the future look like? Experts believe that countries are trying to reduce their dependence on this route. They are building pipelines, exploring renewable energy, and searching for alternatives. But the truth is, right now, nothing can fully replace the Strait of Hormuz. Which means, for the foreseeable future, this narrow waterway will remain one of the most important places on Earth. A place where geography meets power, where trade meets tension, and where a small disruption can create global consequences. So the next time you hear about rising fuel prices or global tensions, remember, it might not just be about politics. It might be about a narrow strip of water, quietly controlling the flow of the modern world. Because sometimes, the smallest places hold the greatest power, and the Strait of Hormuz is proof of that. If you found this video interesting and learned something new, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Because here on Histography, we explore the most powerful places, stories, and events that shape our world. Thanks for watching.